Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal Edition. This is your host, Dean, and yet again, in a new season, I am here with the same old gang. What's up, Coach?
I'm doing good, man. I'm very, very excited about Arsenal winning the league this season. So can't wait for it.
Good spirit. Gabby, how are you?
That's my suit. I've got my open-toe Birkenstocks. I'm ready, bro.
What is happening? I'm good. I need that community curse shield, like the community shield curse to like work overtime this year. Need that.
Yeah, good spirit. Mitch, how's it going?
Dude, this is year 3 on the SPS Arsenal Edition, which is, crazy to think about. I can't believe the season's already started. I'm hurt still from last season, and I can't wait to talk about some Arsenal.
Good shit, man. Good shit. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of all this, because we're going to be here for a while, it is a season preview. We'd like you to go listen to the final episode of the soccer edition. Well, not the final episode. The episode covering the final of the Olympics. And spoiler alert, the U.S. won again, because that's what they do. So go check out Mitch and Emmy on that one. And hey, listen, man, don't make me grab my gun. I will grab my gun. Okay? Like, don't try that British shit today, buddy. Okay, it's too early for that nonsense. But in any event, guys, I guess let's just start real generic. Like, what was your favorite Arsenal headline from this summer? Mitch, you go first.
I'll take the obvious one, signing Calafiori. We made one signing, and that was good. Or at least so far, we've made one signing, and I can't complain about it. He seems like a good player. If anything, he brings the handsome quota up, which is great. We need that in the team. That's how you win a title. I'll go with that.
Good shit. Gabby, what you got?
Well, Mitch does what white people do, and he stole mine. So I was going to say that we kept the handsome FC quota up, period. Okay. And that's really all I care about.
Understandable. And Coach, you were about to say, my bad.
Oh, no, just a note on fantasy football, but we'll get to that anyway, because, I'm taking really lots of money this year. But my personal Arsenal headline this season, so far this season, is I know having a shiny new toy is great and it makes us really tactically flexible. I'm just very excited about Julian Timber. Like, I'm very, very excited about him. If you're talking about tactical flexibility, I think he probably gives us even more flexibility than Calafiori, which is insane to think. Very, very excited.
I'll hold what I have to say about that later on.
Okay, well, I hope we get a chance to talk about it later on. And Coach hinted at it. It is that time of the year again, gang. It's the SPS FPL Fantasy League. Last year's winner, I don't know your name anymore because the shit gets cleaned out every year. You did not claim your prize, and that's okay with me. I like free shit staying in my house. So if you ever remember that you won a fantasy league and you won a nice jersey or some shit, holla at your boy. Hit us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Give us some proof. Actually, we can't even prove that you won or you didn't win it, so don't contact us anymore. I'm keeping that shit. It's over. This year, there'll be more prizes. There'll be more banter. Everyone besides Mitch is currently in the league. And if you want to access our league to win the Golden Plantain, which is basically a jersey, go to our Twitter timeline. The link is pinned on the timeline, so you can just find it there. And the code, if you're trying to access it some other way, is UAPCGN. Is that good? Does that sound like a good update to our fantasy standings?
Yeah, I was literally going to say, if you wanted the code, I can read it out for you, but you had that covered because, of course, you are, Dean.
I'm competent, especially when I'm wearing a hat. All right, let's talk some Arsenal football. Shit. Coach, you watched a lot of the preseason. These two slackers did not. They're young people with lives, going to the beach, golfing, going on vacation, tweeting pictures from Jamaica and shit. You're a real one. You stayed home and you watched all these preseason games. What was your most interesting observation? Coach, let me ask you a question. Okay. You're out of practice. You got to do laps after this. You got to do laps.
You coming in and MLS starting at left back, basically. It's quite interesting because we all know from the tapes and from just various games at youth level, he's a midfielder. And I think this is just purely educational. I don't think Arteta wants him at left back. It's not the same experiment that we saw with Saka. And if I just generally think this is the only way he's getting in the team right now. There is no other space for him. He's just not going to play over any of our other midfielders right now at this moment in time. But with the way Arsenal set up, obviously, playing at left back doesn't actually mean you're a left back. You are quite literally everything apart from, in fact, you might be a goalkeeper as well. Who knows the way Arteta wants to set up this team.
He is a sicko, so.
Yeah. Obviously, and then with Odegaard's position and Ethan, I think he's got all of his minutes there. And I think that's really, really, really interesting because he trusts him despite him being all of 4'3". And Arteta isn't a huge fan of very small players. But when you're good, you're good. And that's what he is. I really, really love the relationships that he's building, which will probably, Dean, remind me, we have to touch on that again before we leave that. But Arsenal right now, in this moment in time, I think we've managed to really become a very, very good team in terms of relationships that we're building with our players. And I think a huge, huge part of that is the profiles that Arteta has been able to finally get his hands on and that he actually wants. But yeah, that was the major takeaway from all of the preseason games. We're building relationships all over the pitch, and even sometimes rehashing the current ones that we have as well. Again, Odegaard and Havertz, again, it's changed again from what it was last season. That the relationship clearly has changed. And if you haven't noticed by now, it might be too late, honestly.
Mitch, by the end of last season, I don't know if we'd quite resolved it, but my memory tells me that we still sort of had an issue breaking down mid blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the games I think of. Porto, I think of Bayern. Those games are the games that kind of stuck in my craw all summer. Do you think we've done anything? Like, does Calafiori help with that? Have we done anything towards resolving that issue, or is this something that has to be done on the training ground?
Yeah, unless we've done something on the training ground, we haven't brought in any new personnel, so we don't have a magic key that we've purchased all of a sudden, because I don't think Calafiori is necessarily the answer to that. I think he's going to have a significant place in this team this season and play a role, but I don't think he's like our mid-block key. I haven't seen Mikel Merino play, who were heavily rumored to be signing. Maybe he's more of that profile. But I think, like, in general, getting more creative and more comfortable in midfield is going to help us in those kinds of situations. Like, however we set up our midfield, whether that's with two more sixes with Declan Rice playing a little bit higher, or Rice playing as the lone six, and we have Odegaard and Merino, or Odegaard and Vieira, or Odegaard and Winieri. I think we're going to have a lot of options to how we want to set up our teams against certain different play styles, which I think does inherently help us. Like, we're a very flexible team if Mikel trusts the players that he has. So as right now, I don't know if there's anything that, like, oh yes, Ethan Winieri is the key to breaking down mid blocks because he's 17. I don't even know how much he's going to play. But like, I know hot takes is a thing we're going to do later, but I want to get mine in real quick now. I think he's going to start multiple Premier League games this year. Like, that's my hot take about Ethan Winieri. And hopefully he is the key to breaking down some mid blocks.
Well said. I do think there's maybe a slight, and we might get into this later, or we won't, because we're just going to be freewheeling this people. But I do think the fact that Calafiori and Timber, the quality that they both have in common, that seems to be, for lack of a better term, lacking in the rest of the trusted group of players, is that they tend to carry the ball a lot. So I don't know if there's like a plan to have our fullbacks carrying the ball.
I was waiting to get to that.
Yeah, but we can get in on that in more detail later on. I wanted to ask you about the attack, because you've been very vocal about it. Even though you haven't been watching any preseason, I've been watching your tweets.
He's lying to you guys. He's for the listeners. He is lying.
I don't think
I just paid a good chunk of money to show up at one of those preseason games.
You know what? I refuse to be told that I'm Joe Rogan on my own podcast. Okay, I don't lie to the people. All right. I've never lied to the people. Well, Gabby, do you think we run into do we run the risk of, like, for lack of a better term, failing again like we did last year, or coming close with no cigar, if we don't add a new profile to our attack? And if we have to add a
Listen,
profile to our attack, what are you looking at right now?
I don't want to get negative so early, but like that's the source of my stress and aggravation this season. I need them to get an attacker over the line. I have been very adamant about us needing a winger, and I'm still adamant about us needing a winger over a striker. I know people want the flashy player, the like Gyökeres, the Osimhen, whoever, but we need a winger. We need a winger badly. One, we need to add some pace. Like that's the attributes that I want in an attacker right now, which I think we are missing badly, are pace and somebody who is quick with their feet, tricky winger. Because I don't think Martinelli is that tricky on the ball personally. And he's basically our only attacker with pace. I know Saka's fast, but he's like, that's not the thing that we think of when you're thinking about all the things that he does for our team. He's not the like constantly the running behind player. He's more of a facilitator. But yeah, I would say that this transfer window would be a failure for me if we don't get an attacker over the line. They need someone. I think that this attack has been stale. We cannot go into another season, especially if we want to win the league, with the same attack that we've had for the last 3 seasons. I'm sorry. Like, that's just crazy to me.
Is there an argument that, people are going to get better? Like, say, like your boy Kai Havertz, for instance, like, he's clearly one of the trusted crew. He was the man for the last 14 games or so last season. Is it crazy for the club to trust that these guys could get better and we don't maybe need someone from outside?
I don't think it's crazy that they trust as a group that they're going to get better, but I'm talking about specifically individuals. So I'm biased. Anyone who listens to this pod knows that I'm biased about Kai. So I'm going to say that he's going to be better. I just think he's going to be very productive this season, personally. I know he's not the most clinical goal scorer, but he's more clinical than Gabriel Jesus. I can tell you that. And Martinelli had his change snatched by Trossard, the short Belgium, last season. So I don't want to be a hater. But I don't know if he's gonna. I don't necessarily think that in this preseason he has showed me he's gonna get better.
Right.
Maybe we can get back to what we had 2 seasons ago. Maybe, but better than that. That's a stretch.
Go on, Mitch.
I do think that Martinelli obviously had a bad season. That's not a hot take by saying that. But there's been like a lot of just like trying to figure shit out on the left-hand side in general at all 3 positions of left back, and left wing. And I think the biggest thing, regardless if we bring in a new attacker or not, is just finding some sort of consistency of like, hey, we're playing a big game. Declan Rice is going to be the left 8. If we're playing a game against a more relegation or mid-table team, Ethan Winieri is going to be the left 8 or something like that. And then Calafiori is our left back, and Martinelli, and we have that consistency where they're able to like build chemistry on the left side and play consistently. Like the way that I've heard Marino talked about is a little bit more of the Xhaka archetype, which I think could really benefit someone like Martinelli on the left-hand side if he's playing next to someone like that wants to create for him in the way Xhaka did. I agree with you that I think we would benefit from an attacking signing, but I also don't think our season hinges on it because we have, like, I don't think staleness is a thing when you have a lot of quality players already. Like, we have a lot of quality players. I think that we could add to that, especially with our wingers, but I don't think it's like, if we don't sign a winger by deadline day, we're in a top 4 race and not a title race. Like, I don't think it's make or break for us, but I agree that we could do it. But I still have a lot of faith that Martinelli and Trossard and Saka and like all these wingers that we have can do a really quality job there.
Well said, Mitch. Let me ask Gabby one more follow-up question before we go over to coach. If we make one signing for the rest of the transfer window, would it be, like, what's the priority in your mind? An additional midfielder or an additional forward? If we can only make one. I know
if we can only make one.
Yes.
If we can only make one, I would say the forward, 100%. Like, unless you're getting like an elite midfielder, like a Moreno and somebody else that, like, I mean, I personally don't like Bruno G, but like I also know what he can do for us. So like, if you were to get a Bruno G and a Moreno, that would be a great window. Do I think we're gonna do that? No. So I would rather you go and get 2 forwards. I would like a backup winger for Saka, and then get Moreno, and then call it a day. I think that would be very helpful, because I don't like, personally, the way that I'm thinking about our attack line. Like, I don't like the way that we go out in cups. That's what I'm thinking about. I know who the starters are in that attack. Like, I know who's going to be playing the majority of the Premier League games, and I know we can get through the majority of the Premier League games with those players, and we're going to score a lot of goals just like we did last season. But when you need that X factor, or when you need to rotate and rest some of those players, I don't want to see a Saka in the FA Cup anymore. I don't want to see a Saka in the Carabao Cup anymore. Like, it shouldn't hinge on him. The next player up should be able to do their job in those cups, and I want to win a cup next year. Whatever it is, I need to win something next year.
Damn. I thought the Emirates Cup was a cup, but apparently that's not enough for some people anymore.
Damn.
Coach, our next tactical evolution, like we've talked about transfers. I've tried to get Gabby to sort of back down from this whole we need a striker thing, but I'm kind of convinced at this point we need something.
No, I didn't even say that. Did I say striker?
Well, striker, forward, winger, whatever. Just something that ends in an ER.
This is a really good bit to just keep lying about what Gabby says. It's like, Gabby says we need a goalkeeper.
Where's the lie? I don't understand where I'm lying here. People. Like, why can't I just sensationalize these headlines? Well, Coach, our next tactical evolution, does it require these new profiles, or can we just solve this in-house? Do we already have these profiles in-house, low-key?
So yes. So the answer is yes. I think it can be solved in-house, but I would still like something fresh. And I think one of the key components there is getting even more out of our best players. And that's not even just our attackers. I'm talking about the likes of Ben White getting more assists, the likes of Odegaard. I think he finished the season on 7 goals last year. Odegaard can definitely get double figures. I feel like it was a low scoring season for him, considering that he got 15 the season before. And it's not like his game was worse last season. He was just doing other shit, but he's still a fantastic ball striker. So yeah, more goals from our best players, essentially, and getting those relationships really well oiled and more refined. But if we're looking at, going to market, then yeah, I agree with Gabby in terms of getting a pacey wide forward. But I'm not totally against the idea of reintegrating Martinelli, over Trossard. It's not because I think Trossard is any worse than him, but I feel like there's still untapped potential in Martinelli that we're just not getting out of him. And that could rely on, again, building more relationships on the left-hand side. Marino is a good start. If we're just looking from a basic standpoint, the ball goes long, he wins every single header in the history of the game. Like, we've seen him enough times. He got the winner in the yeah, I think he got the win in the quarters in the Euros. Like, he's absolutely fake in the air. It doesn't even make sense. So just a basic thing, you lump it up to him. Martinelli's running onto any sort of flick-ons there. Stuff like that where we know, like in basketball, you have your moves, your go-to moves that are going to work 9 times out of 10. We need to start having those relationships with 2-3 players that we know that a certain move is going to work more often than not, because it's too hard to stop when you get the right profiles and the right actions going over and over again. We can go through years of evidence of multiple Arsenal teams that have those rotations. Fabregas will drop in deep. So will Van Persie, and then Walcott is off. You see what I'm saying? Like, and it just those things just keep on happening over and over and over, and teams find it hard to stop. So yeah, I think getting those relationships working better is probably the one thing Arteta is working on for sure. I personally want to see Saka get as close to 20 league goals as possible. I think there's nothing stopping him from doing that. Nobody can quite literally stop him once he gets going. So that's what I personally want to see.
He's my top scorer for us next year. So
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. I think because Mitch brought it up early, we're just going to do hot takes throughout the entire pod. So you have Saka as your top scorer. Just sprinkle it in. Yeah, let's just sprinkle it in. You have Saka as your top scorer. Mitch, who's your top scorer next season?
I think Saka, yeah.
Damn it, you can't pick the same one she picked.
Okay, shit, I'm sorry. David Raya, I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I would have said Kai Havertz if Mikel was done with this, like, Jesus as our main striker and putting Kai at left 8, but, like, since we're probably going to see that a lot more, I had to pick Saka.
Who you got, Cody?
Top scorer. I am going to go Gabagoo over here. That's what I'm going. So Gabby Jesus for me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
That's
I'm like, the David Raya choice is more likely to come true than that. It's crazy.
but that's the point I was trying to get to earlier, right there. There's no faith in Jesus, and there's a reason for that.
I love Gabby Jesus, but top scorer?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Can I just get in quick? Sorry, Dean. Just on that. My logic behind that is because this is his first full preseason, if I remember correctly, since he's joined Arsenal, uninterrupted, completely uninterrupted. And on top of that, I think we need to start accepting that Arsenal are playing at long stretches this season a 4-4-2, even in possession. I think that we have to just come to grips with that. It's happened a lot in preseason already. I love little and large strike partnerships. If shit goes the way I think it's going to go, the way I think Arteta wants to play it, Gabby Jesus is going to be running in behind quite a lot. He's going to be playing on the last line quite a lot because Havertz's midfield play is already improved in preseason already. He's not going to be as close to goal as often as last season. So I say the second half of last season, because you have a complete and utter nuke when he's playing well in Gabby Jesus to play on the last line. So while I'm not 100% sure it will come true, I think there is some sort of basis of that hot take for sure. So
I'm glad that we let you explain yourself because now I'm like a little in. I love a big man little man strike partnership. Love a big man little man strike partnership.
I can sell that to a beach, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, of Saka, David Raya, and Gabby Jesus. As far as a hot take goes, the Gabby Jesus one works really well for me because, I know we lost him, and I feel what you guys feel as well. He's not a player we can rely on. But a lot of that has to do with his fitness. He hasn't been healthy for 18 months, basically. He got injured at the World Cup, and he hasn't been healthy since. Apparently, and based on what I've seen in preseason, he's looking sharp. He's looking trim. Even his haircuts look better, so...
I hear you guys, but I guess my hot take for last season was it wasn't about his fitness, it was about his mentality last season. Once you start going to the press and saying you're not about scoring goals, like, sorry, but I don't trust this
Man
guy
can't
at
be
all.
self-aware? Come on. We're digging points for self-awareness?
I told somebody this preseason, I said, watch Gabriel Jesus. I know Liverpool was our worst preseason game by far, but watch Gabriel Jesus. When he scores, sometimes he looks surprised that he scores. That is not a good sign. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
He just got them Mighty Mouse ass eyebrows and shit, man.
He just always looks surprised. You're making fun of him for just knowing himself,
Listen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm right. I pray that I'm wrong because Mikel is going all in on this right now. So I pray that I'm wrong. But if I'm not, it's going to be very nasty.
Worst case scenario, just having an additional healthy body in the group helps. Because when you mentioned that, it's kind of crazy for us, to go into the third season in a row with the same attacking lineup. When you really think about it, we had Gabby Jesus for 3 Champions League games last season. That was about it. The rest of the time, he wasn't himself. We lost Martinelli as well. He wasn't himself last season. When he started looking like himself, he got hurt. Then Trossard took his job. So I just think based on the numbers alone, we might be doing
just
better.
Too bad bitches saying exactly.
Speaking of people we already have in-house who may or may not be a solution for problems that we may or may not have in the team, Fabio Vieira. This feels like a make or break season for me, Mitch. I know that's your boy, but we essentially sacrificed ESR on the art of making this transfer work. How useful do you think it's going to be for us this season, Mitch?
I hate that narrative.
I mean,
but go on.
You keyed this up with what I was going to key this up with, which was it's a make or break season for him. If it's another tough year for Fabio Vieira, he will not be an Arsenal player next year, and we're going to have to find some nice little loan with an option to buy. Come on, European teams, come offer us 12 million in 2 years. Can't wait. But obviously, I've been on paper of being a fan of Fabio Vieira this season, or his time at Arsenal. I hope he can get it to work this year. He's in a tough spot, just like in like the depth chart. We're like, if coach is right and we're going to a 4-4-2, Fabio Vieira is fucked. He is a right wing backup. Like that is what his role is, and his role in preseason has been as a right wing backup because when Saka was gone, he was fully starting at right wing. So everyone calling out for Osaka backup, maybe we got it. Maybe it's Fabio Vieira. But it's a tough situation because his best role is the one place that's not getting replaced anytime soon. His best role is how Odegaard's playing. And unless Odegaard gets hurt, he's not touching the field in that spot, which immediately puts him at a disadvantage of trying to break into this team. We're trying to buy a player who fits into that left 8 spot. We also have Declan Rice that can play there. We also have Ethan Wanyeri. It's a tough situation for him, and what he can't be doing is any of this dumb shit. He can't be like playing a good game and then, my hamstring's tight the next game, and you can't build off any of that fucking form. Or play a good game, come in last 10 minutes of a game and get a fucking red card and then never be seen again like he did last season. Like, it's a very much make or break year for him. I've seen glimpses of the talent that he has, but I think it's more likely that he has another disappointing season than he has a good one and breaks into the team and finally has a starting role in the team. I think that's a much more likely outcome than all of a sudden Fabio Vieira is on the team sheet every single game.
Gabby.
I agree. I don't think this is a hot take, and anybody who listens to this pod know that I really like Fabio Vieira, but I don't think this is a make or break season for him. I think it's already broken. I think it's done. He did not play a lot of preseason. Like, we didn't see him a lot in the position that we thought we were going to see him in the left 8. And that says a lot. Like, that says a lot. I think that Mikel clearly already trusts Ethan to deputize for Odegaard, and that's really bad for Fabio. I think he's trying to make use of a bad situation by shunting him off to the right wing to see if he can play there, but I don't think we're going to get what we need out of him in the right wing. I don't think he's very good on the right wing. He's better in the middle. And I thought that after last season, I was like, if we don't see him in preseason, which we haven't really, it's done. Like, by January, he's going to need a loan. Genuinely. Like, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to need to go. I personally think he should go out for a loan now. Right now. Like, don't even take the chance. Protect him, go out on a loan, and let him play somewhere, because he needs to be in a team that's like Liverpool, where you're running and creating constantly. That is not us. That is not us. He's not, like, we don't play to his strengths, and he is not a good complementary player to what we need. So just get him out of here. Like, and I really like Fabio. I really think he is a good player. He's just not going to be a good player for us.
Coach, are you as down on Fabio Vieira's future at Arsenal as Mitch and Gabby seem to be?
No, and I'll tell you why. I'll just get on my board now because I thought
He's got the board.
There we go.
I know, right? No, I know it's a new season. We're trying.
Let's go.
We're trying shit. So first of all, I hope it translates well, because it might just reverse. But as you can see here, right, we've got FV, that's Fabio Vieira, right? And then obviously we've got Odegaard next to him, and that's Ben White overlapping, right? Because
I just want you to know that V has no point. It looks like a U, but go on.
My handwriting is terrible. Absolutely terrible. That's Gabriel Martinelli right here, playing, basically running in. And I want to just be clear here. Arsenal have a heritage of playing one wide playmaker on one forward. It's been a thing for years, absolute years. It's just that we've had some unicorns over the years, like a Robert Pires, who can also crash 20 goals a season. It doesn't appear that way that he's also a playmaker as well. When you've got another 20 goal a season winger in Ljungberg on the other side. But Ljungberg was clearly the forward in that formation. You fast forward a few years later, you've got Walcott playing on one side and Nasri, Arshavin, whoever else being the playmaker on the other side. There is space in this team for Fabio Vieira if we set up that way with a target man and another forward on the other side is the point I'm making. And I definitely think we're not done with him trying him there because that's all he's played in preseason. And I think there's enough evidence to suggest that Arteta clearly wants to try playing that way anyway. Ben White wasn't playing as an overlapping fullback this time last season. Do you know what I'm saying? He actually wasn't. And I think a part of that is we're trying different things. We're trying to find ways to unlock that right side even more. And I think that's the key. That could be a key aspect there. And that could be a key aspect to even helping the left side even more if you've got an off the ball threat in Martinelli or even a new winger that can help supplement the attack when Vieira has the ball, because Vieira, to my mind, still has one of the best final passes, arguably still the best final pass in the team. So that could be his way of keeping a job at Arsenal. Do I think that's the primary way we'll play it? Absolutely not, because Bukayo Saka is an Arsenal player. But there is absolute evidence there, and I think there's enough in our team. Even if Trossard wants to stop, being weird and just play as close to the goal as possible, Vieira could genuinely still play in that position because he'll just be supplying a fantastic finisher in Trossard. You see what I'm saying? So there's space for him there. I don't think he's completely done yet, but he's probably going to need potentially, a real good start to the season, and Ethan not to take his job basically.
I just want to apologize to the listeners because Coach just said a whole bunch of nothing about Fabio. Don't believe anything he just said about Fabio.
Really?
A whole bunch of nothing.
He had a whiteboard. I have to believe him. He had a whiteboard.
Exactly. But no.
Listen.
Go on.
Fabio, don't trust Fabio. Don't trust Fabio. You know why? Because he has the same problem that Jesus has. Actually, that's a lie. Not the same problem, but in a different way. It's a mental thing. Fabio does not assert himself on the ball. He doesn't. He doesn't assert. Have you seen in any of the preseason games that we watched where Fabio asserts himself on the ball?
Yes. So yes, I will actually say this. In the game on Wednesday, which I'm sure Dean watched. Did you watch?
I did watch it against Liverpool.
No, I'm asking if Gabby watched.
Oh no,
what was the game on Wednesday?
See, she don't even.
I'm asking.
Oh, seems like someone didn't watch.
I didn't watch it, but I literally had to think about who we played in preseason.
Oh, really?
I literally had to think about it. I genuinely don't remember. If you're saying that Fabio asserted himself, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not remember him in that game.
There's a reason why he's still an Arsenal player and ESR isn't. Unfortunately, in football today, because
Mikel bought him.
ESR saved Mikel's job. Everybody knows that. I think
he wasn't a Mikel signing though. He just wasn't.
But Mikel's alluded to the fact that ESR, helped him out in a very, very important period of the Arsenal career. But the point I'm making here is that Arteta, more often than not, in this stage of the Arsenal squad, is looking at players that primarily, especially even in attack, that are helpful off the ball. Which I don't like that, but I understand it. It's the modern demands, and I genuinely think he's given Fabio a chance because if you can be serviceable for this Arsenal team who are pressing monsters, who don't want to let the opposition breathe off the ball kind of thing, you're going to have a job at Arsenal. You actually are. So Vieira primarily doing the ugly shit, trying his best to, tuck in when he can, to track back when he can, to try and win the ball high up when he can kind of thing. Arteta knows if you're doing that for me and then we can actually get the ball to you, I know what you can do with a final pass kind of thing, and that's why he's still at Arsenal. I don't think he's not going to sell him at this stage. I don't think. Where's the market going?
Have you thought about that Gabby is in the vents during his therapy sessions and he's saying that he's not assertive on the ball and she heard that?
Well,
but I say too bad for him, Martinelli. Too bad for just saying exactly.
I'm just saying. While I don't think he's completely the answer for Arsenal, I still believe he's incredibly useful. And another key thing here as well, Arsenal don't score that many goals from outside the box, and we know he's got a rocket as well. There's plenty of tools for Vieira there. So yeah, I vehemently reject your claims of him being completely useless at Arsenal, unfortunately. So,
completely useless. I said he's not going to work out. I think, personally,
I heard
my hot
Gabby
take
say he's
about
the worst Arsenal player of all time. Is that right? Did I hear that?
Oh, that's Danny Ceballos. That's Danny Ceballos. No. I think
That's Dennis
I think
Suarez.
Fabio
This is
leaves
Dennis
us.
Suarez erasure.
I think Fabio leaves us and like genuinely revitalizes his career somewhere else and plays well, but he won't. He just won't do it here. He just won't.
Well, my hot take is that if we being Edu sort out the whole transfer thing and bring in another profile in there, especially if that profile happens to be like a traditional type striker. And honestly, the numbers don't even make sense to me, people. Let's back this up a second. Like, if we bring someone else in, okay, so let's say Reese leaves, Eddie leaves. So we bring in someone else. We have Saka and Vieira on the right, Havertz and Jesus in the middle, and maybe a little bit of Trossard as well, in that false nine role. Then we got Trossard and Martinelli on the left. Where is this striker supposed to fit? Where are the minutes coming from?
Nowhere. And that's why we need a winger, not a striker.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why you need a winger, not a striker.
Yeah. If we got a winger, where are the minutes coming from?
Listen, you guys are forgetting how many people we can actually have on our bench. People are going to be dropped. And that is going to be Fabio. I'm telling you right now.
I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm fine if you're going with our attack this way. Because I feel as if we're adding at least 3 people that were not useful to us at all last year. In Fabio Vieira, Gabi Jesus, and Gabi Martinelli. Like, he gave us minutes in terms of like running and shit, but he didn't really produce. And I think if all 3 of those guys are just 5% better than they were last year, I think we're going to be all right. I really do. If we can bring someone in,
better is 2 points.
That's a lot of ifs.
5% better is the 2 points we needed to win the league last year. Like, that's all we need. We're that close.
Like, it's really hard to improve a team that got 89 points. It just is. Like, I don't like the idea of, because we're not going to get a striker that's just like an average striker. We're not going to get, all due respect to Marseille's future striker, Eddie Nketiah. We're not going to get another Eddie Nketiah level player. So if he's supposed to be better than Eddie and we spend money on him and he's supposed to play because we spent money on him, I don't really see how this player is going to play. Like, who can you look at on the market right now that is guaranteed to be a better striker than Kai Havertz or Gabi Jesus?
On the market,
they're a really good player.
I was gonna say, do you want me to answer that question? Because I have an answer. I personally think if we were looking at a striker, I personally think that Gyökeres was the one.
Yeah.
He just was. He just was. Like, and they lowered their fee. Personally, like, because I would never pay 100 something for Gyökeres. That's crazy. But if they lower their fee, they want around 60, 70.
Okay, let me ask you this thing, Gabby. If they've lowered the fee and we all watched them score 50 whatever combined goals and assists last season, how come nobody wants him?
I don't think that nobody wants him, and that's the problem. I don't think nobody wants him.
I don't know, girl. I don't know. I just feel like
I don't think that nobody wants him. I just think that like this transfer window is the window where there's so little quality in the transfer window right now. Like in forwards in general, winger market and strikers, and everybody's trying to find cheaper value elsewhere. I just think that they're not going to pay what they want. Because like I said, they wanted to start off the fee at 100 million, which is crazy. It's crazy. They were never going to pay that. A lot of these strikers, a lot of these good players are staying where they're at. That's why Sesko stayed where he's at. He wants to play. Xavi Simons is staying where he's at. He wants to play.
I just don't see us making the sort of purchase that's going to require the sort of changes we're going to need to accommodate that player. Because if we get one more player in there, I don't care where he plays. That means Fabio Vieira is dead. Those are his minutes gone immediately.
Correct.
And we can see in the preseason that the manager is trying to make that transfer work. Coach.
This is an open-ended question to anyone. Let's just say, in a parallel universe to Earth 616, that Rodrigo becomes available and Arsenal actually have a chance of signing him. Okay, so we do sign him.
Okay.
Where does he play and who does he send to the job center?
You know what?
He's playing on that left wing.
Yes.
He's playing on that left wing. 100%.
And Martinelli can start his transitions becoming a forward, like a number 9 type forward. Like it's time.
Okay.
But yes, you buy someone like Rodrigo if he comes available. But I don't know. I just feel like we're very, very solid as is. We really are. I'm not really panicking.
I'm with you, Dean.
I hear you. This is my last thing on it. This is my last thing because we have so much more to get to. But I will say, I think that when I say that we stagnated in our attack, I look at all the good teams. I know that we technically look at City as the team to beat because they are. They're the team that have won the league 4 times in a row. But I'm also I know you guys didn't see that if you're listening to the pod, sorry. But also, if you're looking at the teams around us, I'm genuinely, can we beat a West Ham this year? I know we beat them once, but can we beat a West Ham this year? None of the teams around us has
6-0. I just need to make that clear.
when it mattered, we did not beat them. When it mattered before, we did not beat them. And those are the teams we should beat. I'm okay with us dropping points against a Big Six. Fair enough. But those are the teams we should beat. The teams around us have also strengthened. They don't stay stagnant. They always want to. Real Madrid just won the Champions League again and went out and got Mbappe. Nobody stays stagnant. Nobody but us. For some reason, we are like, we got what we need. It's okay. No, go out and get someone.
You just said
I think that you are too hopped up on transfer dopamine. That's insane.
No. This is not transfer dopamine. This is not transfer dopamine. I'm not saying spend 100 million on somebody, but I do think that the bar is so low. Like we said that Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson did not give us anything last year. Just get someone better than them.
Who is that?
Don't try to fit Fabio on the right wing and then be like, oh, well, we'll see if he performs. No, just get someone who is a starter for someone else who can do something. That's it.
Why would a player who's starting for another team be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come be a backup? Like, oh, you see how many minutes Reece Nelson's played in the last few years? Hey, do you want that? You've been playing every week. You want that?
That's a terrible question when we have seen what Chelsea have done. They have 41 players in their squad right now. People sign for whatever reasons they want. People sign for whatever reasons they want. Convince someone.
You go because
that's crazy.
Yeah, Dean,
that's crazy.
So I was about to change the topic, but I just generally think
I would love to do that.
We're fine if we're gonna get if we're gonna get somebody, if we absolutely have to, and we decide we want to supplement our front line, I think it has to be somebody that adds something entirely different. And for me, as much as I'd want that to be a winger, makes sense in my mind, but I would want a proper center forward. Because I feel as if that opens up a lot more options. Like we still haven't taken enough advantage of the fact that Fabio Vieira has the best final ball in the squad, for instance. Like when Saka rests, why don't we just change the dynamics of the team entirely? Because Fabio doesn't do what Saka does, you know.
Because Mikel is a sicko. Know your manager.
Mitch, let's take it to a different direction real quick. Of the players that are on the sort of the edge of the, because we don't have a pure starting 11. I suspect the starting 11 from today against Lyon is what Mikel wants, at least to start the season. Over time, that will evolve as Calafiori and Timber get fitter. We'll see how that goes. But who do you think on the edge, you know, between the new transfers, were injured for a while but are now back, guys, who is most likely to sneak their way into that constant starting lineup position?
Whoever is like a better suited left back between Calafiori and Timber, I think is like the most likely to just like come in and lock it down and just like making that their starting position. But I haven't seen enough of either of them. I don't think by mid-season Zinchenko's our starting left back. I think that's not a hot take at all. Mm-hmm. That is we've spent a lot of money on players that can play in that position in the last 2 summers. And I think it all just comes down to who's fitter and who's more equipped to play that role between Calafiori and Timber. I think I lean that it'll be Calafiori, mostly because, I don't know, Timber's still coming back from an ACL. Like, he's a little bit more fit and will have an earlier opportunity to prove something. And Timber may end up just being a Swiss utility knife, which is great. That's great to have. If we have someone like Tomiyasu that's a Swiss utility knife, but can also be healthy, wonderful. we would love that. But I think whoever ends up at the top of the left back pile is my choice. Which is not the answer you wanted. You wanted me to give you a specific name, and I said 3 names.
No. That's clearly that's a fair way to present the information, because it's not a sure thing, because I couldn't give you one name either. That's why I asked. So good Lord, I'm stuck now. Let's go to Gabby. What? What will be the biggest surprise of the season? If you're just pulling a prediction out of thin air, what would be the biggest surprise to you?
I think that Calafiori will be an X factor. Personally, like when I think of, I don't know if you guys, I didn't watch him play a lot last season. I don't watch Serie A that much, unless I'm watching Americans. Sorry. But when I watched the comps of Calafiori and even watching him in the Euros, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He loves carrying the ball forward. And I just think, in my mind, if you have Calafiori, like if that chance against Bayern at home, or away, sorry, drops to Calafiori instead of Ben White, he puts that in the back of the net. Like, that's my hot take. I just think he's going to score or assist a lot of goals this season. I think his production is going to be high.
I like that you mentioned him in the same sentence as Ben White, because I kind of think of them as the same player with a different foot, with just the sliders shifted up and down a little bit, but they're basically the same kind of player in my mind. Let's return
the captains of Handsome FC.
Oh man, why did Kai Havertz get married? I knew this was gonna go haywire. Like, they've lost him. They're focused on the Italian.
I dropped
now.
to my knees, but it's okay.
Hit the Costco. Oh!
Gabby, he married like the most. Kai married the most beautiful woman in the entire world, and Gabby was like, "How did this happen?"
I was like, "Fair enough, Sophia. Well played."
Why would he do this to me? He says. Let's come back to some of the observations from this preseason. Today, you watched a little bit of the Lyon game before you got on your travels, and you made an observation in the group chat, but I'll just let you take it from the top yourself.
So first of all, I think there's so much potential in this Arsenal team in the way that we use space. There's still, put it like this, we scored 89 goals last year, and we were all thinking, wow. Pretty much after almost every match, they were like, we could have scored 2 or 3 more today. Whether we won 5-0 or 6-0, we were like, we left some goals out there on the pitch. And I think a key component in that is, while our finishing was fantastic and our combination play was good, we still didn't utilize the space enough time for me. And it's not just about space in behind, even though I think that's a huge factor in it. I think it's more about space with relative to how teams pressure us. We know Saka's going to draw minimum 2 players to him every time he gets the ball. And while Arteta has worked very well to be able to free other players up, the likes of what do you call it, Rice goes into space, and obviously Havertz doing what he does, kind of thing. What about if we're talking, like I mentioned before, Ben White getting more assists, kind of thing? What about if we free him up even more, because we know Saka is going to draw all these players to him? What about moving Odegaard over into the left half space now, because we know players have shifted over to try and stop the best player of all time in Bukayo Saka, and we know what Odegaard is like on the left hand side of the pitch as well. There is so much potential there for us, and that means players like Martinelli, players like Havertz will have even more time, because with space comes time to figure out how they're going to put the ball into the back of the net. I still feel like while we're very, very good, we're still not as optimized as we can be with the profiles that we actually have. I'm not talking about a mythical winger that's going to do whatever, or a mythical striker that's going to do whatever. This team scored 89 goals last year. These players here, especially the best ones that we have all scored double figures in the Premier League already in their careers. Saka has done it 3 or 4 years in a row now. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is so much there. There's so much there for us. Like, I'll give you an example as well. I'll probably use an old example. So we did a comp, right, for Van Persie, like, from years ago, and we put it on all our channels or whatever. And we played a 4-4-2 that day, and it was Van Persie behind Adebayor, right? And to everyone's, contrary now, it's like, oh, it's 2 number 9s up front, but clearly Van Persie was the link player, the way Bergkamp was the link player kind of thing, right? You look at the spaces that he picked up, and while I'm not saying Havertz is going to play Van Persie, but look at the spaces he picked up because teams are worried about that traditional number 9 kind of thing. Whoever is in that space, regardless, right, whether it's Havertz, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Odegaard, that means somebody, most likely a centre-back, is going to be coming out to that player most of the time. So why isn't Saka running into that space when the ball's there? Because Saka's a good finisher as well. It's genuinely on us now to start looking at those gaps like over and over again, tricking teams, making them, getting them into this pattern of tracking this play, tracking that play, and then bang, it's Saka that's now the centre forward that's gone in. You know what I mean? That's what I really, really, really want to see. And that all comes down to space. Again, Saka draws 3 players in, bang, he's gone in behind now. There's now God knows how much space left now because 3 players have been attracted to him. That's what I want to see. Teams being consistently pulled in, and then we're gone.
Gabby?
I agree. I think the thing that frustrates me the most when I'm watching Arsenal is definitely them not utilizing the space. Sometimes we don't pass a move. We just pass and wait for something to happen or wait for a moment of magic, which kind of irritates me. There's a goal that I was in the stadium for this one, which irritated me. But there's a goal that we conceded against Liverpool in preseason that was, I think it was Carvalho who was in the box, who just I can't remember the last time we did a scoop pass into the box like that. Like somebody's just ghosting in and we just lifted it over for them. And I always think about we talk about space specifically with Kai a lot, and him constantly taking runners away because he's running wherever he's running. He's almost always the decoy, and then I'm like, yeah, but somebody else has to be like following up on it. It can't just be Kai running and then we'd like wait for the defense to reset and then we try to break them down again. Like somebody go.
Yeah, we could definitely stand to be more aggressive. I think one of my biggest complaints from last season was the number of times our press would get the ball back and we'd somehow mess up the finish. Like even in the friendly from this weekend, from Wednesday against Leverkusen, the second goal that Trossard scored, like at least 2 other people could have scored there before Trossard had to like cut a guy.
Oh my God.
Yo, like what are we doing here, man?
Went to 3 people's feet in the box.
Right. Like, will someone take responsibility here? And it's interesting because as much as we all love our captain, I've often felt that a weird weakness in this game is how he almost becomes, I don't know what the right terminology is here, but he almost seems to lose his sense of vision the closer he gets to goal. Like you mentioned scoop pass, and that triggered something in my head. Like there are moments where Odegaard could have done a scoop pass, and he chose not to do it, and he plays like a pass into space where there's not enough space. And Saka runs after it to make it look good, but we all knew from the moment he hit the ball that nothing was happening there. Like, I guess the question, and actually, you know what, Coach, you go ahead before I ask the question.
Now, I was going to say, in regards to Odegaard, I know what it is. He always, his issue is that he thinks too much. That's what it is. He knows what the right option is more often than not, kind of thing, and he overthinks it. That's all it is.
This is why Bruno Fernandes is better. This is why Bruno doesn't think at all. Not even a little bit. He just does.
and that's the issue with having a player like that, is that they know, like, it's not instinctual with them. They thought out shit 10 minutes ahead of time, basically. And that's why sometimes you need a bit of a Crash Bandicoot idiot in those areas where they're just going to do the first thing that comes to them. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think Odegaard, he found a decent balance at some points last season, but I still feel as if there needs to be sometimes just do you know what? Let me play like a hooligan for the next 5 minutes because I've got enough quality to make people pay. But yeah, I'll let Mitch rap on our captain because I know he wants to go.
Yeah, go on, Mitch. Like how can Odegaard get better? Because when he got to the club and when we talked about him, even before he was properly linked to Arsenal, I feel like a lot of the sense about him was that he was more of a Ozil type player, like a final pass merchant. But we've watched him long enough now to realize that he's probably not that. Like he's probably more of a Modric than an Ozil, really. But what are his paths to getting better, do you think?
Well, I mean, 100%, he's not like a Ozil type creator and never has. But I think one thing that he can, one thing that he not necessarily has to improve on, but something that will improve the perception of Martin Odegaard is people finishing really good passes from him. Because there's a lot of times where he puts players in very good positions that they don't score from. Don't quote me on this. I think he may have underperformed his expected assists last year just because he puts a lot of good passes together that aren't scored. So that's not necessarily on him to improve, but I think the perception of him will improve if more people score from his chances that he creates. I think something that bothers me about Martin Odegaard is like I feel like I'm watching a different player sometimes with other people because the conversation around him is a lot of people are just dying to replace him. And I can tell you right now
Weirdos, man.
I think next to Saka, in terms of will never be replaced in this team unless somehow gets sold. Like that is Mikel Arteta's son. He has no interest in ever replacing him at any point. And giving him the captaincy, it just instills that, you know? Like there's no point in which he's going to be replaced by a player. His role could change, but he's not being replaced anytime soon. And I think that once we started playing him a little bit deeper, he wasn't playing on the last line. The idea that Coach talked about of playing more 4-4-2, where our top of our line of an attack is like Martinelli, Jesus, Havertz, Saka, and he's playing a little bit deeper as more of a facilitator, is better conducive to him playing really, really well. He's more of a like just kind of keeping everything chugging along than playing at the top of the attack and like creating everything, which is why I think it's like very key to, depending on how we play, having some sort of other creative outlet in there, because he is a creative player. But I think that having all of the burden on him, like, is why I lean towards playing with a second 8 that's a little bit more attacking and having Rice as the deepest player. Is more of the system that I prefer us to have. I don't blame us to go back to a more of a double pivot in tougher games, but I think there's nothing that's going to stop Odegaard from just continuing to build on what he's been doing in the same way that Saka have, where I feel like they're both at the top of their positions already and the top of the team already, where there's not much like personal development that's needed other than just continuing to build on what you've already done, you know?
Well said. Coach, do you have any contrasting thoughts? Because I do.
No. I think, well, first of all, he did underperform his XG, his XA, by 0.01. But the main point, I think, with Odegaard is players finishing their chances is absolutely going to be great or whatever. But Odegaard himself has grown as a player. So I want to give him a lot of credit. He's grown as a player and he's grown as a captain as well. Odegaard overall, however, for me, I still feel as if there's let's say he's performing at a high level. I still feel there's a sizable gap where he hasn't even touched yet. And that's where I want to see him go, because he's clearly a fantastic player and player that I don't want to see dropped or anything like that. But you know when a player is good, when you look at it thinking, fuck me, he's fantastic and I still think he can do better. I look at Saka the exact same way, despite me thinking Saka is... Nobody's fucking with Saka anyway. Let's be clear with it. But I still look at Saka and think, do you know what? Nah. That right foot, you scored a few, we need more. Headers, we need more. Actual, reverse passes, we need more. The shit that I'm seeing, I know Saka can and should be doing. With Odegaard, I'm thinking, do you know what? yeah, we need some more disputed passes. We need some more 30-yard bangers. We need some free kicks. I'm seeing the shit that he can improve on. Even in the first phase, even receiving the ball in the second phase, I still want him to carry it better. I still want him to actually attempt to beat players as well. So
Thank you.
Thank
you. That was my
take it
one
away.
thing for Odegaard. That was my own summer homework for him. Like, bro, you need to trust your own athleticism more. You've grown a lot as a person, as a player. Your athleticism has improved. You're more muscular. You're stronger. Trust yourself to carry the ball more. Then you create more options for yourself. Too much of his game is stationary, where he just wants to do something fancy on the spot in his own orbit. Like, bro, carry the ball and your options change. That's all it is. Like, and when you see him do it, every time the decision afterwards is excellent. It's when he kind of is standing, then he makes a decision. He makes a call from there. That's where he makes those mistakes I don't like in the box. When he gets closer to the box, where he's like, I'm going to put a pass into space that doesn't exist. It's like, bro, just carry the ball a bit. When you carry the ball, the picture changes. And that's all I want to see from him, even though there's more to do. And coach was very eloquent about that. Gabby, we all watched the Euros this summer, and we watched a very dysfunctional England make it all the way to the final and deservedly lose to the Spanish footballing dynasty. God, fuck those guys, by the way. One damn trophy. But Declan Rice came in for a lot of criticism, which was weird to those of us that watch him every week. And those that probably watch him every week at West.
I was going to say, was it weird?
It was weird. It was weird because we all know how good he is. We didn't pay $100 million for him on accident. We didn't offer to give West Ham more money because we're being trolls. Like, he's that good. But he could get better. And how do you think he can get better?
Well, first, let me say, caveat to anyone who is listening. I say, was it weird? Because I don't think it was weird because he's an Arsenal player. Arsenal players just get shit on more than any other player. And that's just a fact. I don't care what anybody says. It's just a fact. Now, putting that aside, how can he get better? Well, I think that we're seeing, I call Mikel a sicko all the time, and it is true. But we're seeing him trying to hone his skills in other areas that are not the six. And I think, Mitch touched on it earlier, but I personally see him as a six. That's what I want him to be. That's where I want him always. That's his position. That's where I think he can be the most elite. If you're talking about Rodri is the person you're trying to catch up to, the Rodri is the person you're trying to emulate. You want to be our Rodri. That's where he should stay. He's very good in the 8, but he's a lot better, and the potential, the ceiling is a lot higher in the 6. Personally, that's what I think.
Can I? I'm sorry, quickly.
Yeah.
Do you think in his first season at Arsenal he's performed better when he's played 6 or when he's played 8?
When he's played 6.
You think so? Okay, cool.
I do. I do think so. I think he has his best performances at 6. And I also think we play better when he's at 6, rather than putting somebody at 6 and then putting him in the 8.
Okay.
I agree with Gabby, and I would say that the reason why a lot of that 8 chatter got so loud was because, yes, the team was playing well overall when he was in that position. But personally, as a child of Arsene Wenger, all I could see, even when he was producing, all I could see was all the shit he was leaving on the table. And he was leaving that stuff on the table because he's not really an 8. He's a 6. As a matter of fact, he's a center back. Yeah. Does that make you happy, Chelsea fans? Listening to this.
I think, Dean, you've touched on something interesting of a lot of people want to put him at 8 because it feels like, oh my God, we spent $100 million on him. We need to get everything out of him. And I feel like that's disrespectful to the 6 as a position, which is, I've said it before, I feel like playing a lone 6 is the hardest role to play in the sport. And especially with 2 more attacking players in front of you. And he is fully able to do that to a high level. And it's, I don't think, appreciated enough. He's fully able to do that to a high level, and people feel like you're not using him to his full potential when he's not in a more attacking role. When, yeah, we know he can do carrying the ball forward. That's wonderful. But he's also a world-class 6. So let's just do that. Why not, right? He's a really solid 8, but he's a world-class 6. So play him there. Play your 100 million pound player to the best of his potential, right? Like, that's why I've always kind of more preferred him in that role.
Coach, you
And
might
something
have
about
some
Declan that I sorry, go on.
Go on,
No,
Gabby,
that's
go on.
fine.
Oh, something about Declan that I love is that he is a very high IQ player. There's some players who like I'm not going to say who I think about when I say this, but there's some players who very much rely on their physical attributes to get them through a game, and they're very good. They're very, very good. But I don't think Declan is that player. He does rely on his physical attributes, but not more than his brain, not more than him thinking through the game. The way that we look when he's at the 6 is so I never feel so safe. And that is coming from somebody who started watching Arsenal in 2014 when we were shit and our midfielders were not good, other than Santi Cazorla. And he was not a 6. I don't start the nonsense today. But yeah, I just when he's not there, we are so much more open. We concede so much more chances. We're constantly genuinely doing sprints, running up and down the pitch trying to get the ball. We can't contain possession. He is somebody who is world class and could be the best 6 in the world, bar Rodri, if he's not already. And which I think he is already, bar Rodri. But fair enough, if you don't think that. And I just don't understand why you would want to put him somewhere where he's not as good, but he's still kind of good. He's just so good that he's somewhat better than other players, but he's just nowhere near where he is at 6. Nowhere near.
Coach, you want to throw the cat among the pigeons? Go ahead.
I'm not even gonna play devil's advocate here. And I'm gonna ask a series of questions I'm probably gonna answer myself, but I suppose the first thing is that how do we get the best out of our other players when Declan Rice plays number 6? Because it has to be very, very clear here. The number 6 role is a thankless task. Your job is to protect the defense, but also make sure that the better players are platformed, right? And one way of platforming the better players is getting the ball to them in as quickly as possible, in as much space as possible, for them to do the most damage in the most dangerous areas, basically. Now, let's be very clear here. Declan Rice is a wonderful footballer. He's arguably my favourite type of central midfielder, to be honest. Not going to say he's like Vieira because there's quite literally no one like Vieira. Definitely not Cazorla, at least anyway. But there's very few things that Declan Rice can't do on a football pitch. The list is so short that it's pointless talking about it. But because it's so short, where we discount the importance of certain things. So I suppose the next question that I'm gonna ask is, how confident are we that Declan Rice, when he's clattered, all 4 midfielders and won the ball back, basically, how confident are we that the ball gets to Odegaard and Saka as quickly as it can? I'll be honest, I'm still on the fence about that. Arsenal are an attacking side, are a possession-based side. I'm not saying he can't do it and will never be able to do it, but because we're trying to win right now, it's not really about just playing him in his best position because, that's what we bought him for and stuff like that. It's really about making sure Declan Rice is not in a position where the rest of the team is suffering despite him playing well. And I'm not saying that because I don't think he's capable of it. I saw multiple times, even in games where we were shit, the Fulham game, and even the Liverpool game as well. I think they came in a 2 or 3 week period. Declan Rice was getting the ball forward, quite quickly, and he was breaking lines quite easily. The issue is for me is that it wasn't done as consistently as naturally as others that have played there. And I think we're still at a stage where there's a question mark over that side of his game. I'm not saying it will never come kind of thing. I just think we still have to be very, very cautious about it because we're going to have so much of the ball this season, so much. And we need to make sure the guy that's starting the attacks, he's switched on. He's seen that, that split second of space where the ball can get there and we can cause damage. The ball is getting there. And I'm still on the fence about just that particular part of his game. Everything else, the carrying the ball, the actual the long passing, the switches of play and shit like that, I have no issues with that at all. I think he's fantastic. It's just those key moments is where I'm still on the fence about him. But yeah, go on, Dean.
Yeah, I think we're essentially talking about, from a technical standpoint, we're talking about his ability to receive the ball with his back facing the defenders. Basically get the ball on your back foot. The same way the strikers do it. I mean, the midfielders like ESR, Odegaard. The way they receive the ball in the final third in the pocket and they take it on their back foot. The same way Jorginho or Thomas, whatever the fuck his name is, do it. Like that's the one skill that he's lacking to a certain extent. And it's weird because his superpower of running with the ball, the fact that he's so good at that, sort of limits his ability to get the ball out of his feet quicker. Because people are who they are, players are what they are. Like, you don't just become a striker because a coach says you're a striker. It's something about your instincts as a player. Certain players like to get the ball and carry it a little bit. Like we saw that with Martinelli in the game against Lyon today. A different kind of player, someone like Fabio Vieira he had an opportunity where he could have crossed the ball one time. First touch to Kai Havertz. He takes a touch to get across the defender first, then tries to play, defender blocks it. Because he's a runner by nature. He's not a passer. Declan Rice is a runner by nature. He's not a passer, which makes him tricky as a 6. But the other thing is that I feel like just generally the concept or the idea of a lone 6 in modern football is sort of overstated because no one really plays as a lone 6 anymore. Like, everybody inverts someone from somewhere else to help that guy anyway. So I'm not too worried about Declan. Ultimately, I do think he belongs at the 6. I do think he belongs at the 6, but as Coach mentioned, we don't want to prioritize his positional ranking over getting the ball to the best players that actually make the difference on a consistent basis, like Saka and all the rest. But yeah, I guess all we can hope is that he'll keep working on it and he'll get better. Coach, you had one more thing to add to that.
Yeah, just on the fact that players not playing lone 6 anymore is such a valid point, because I've seen this criticism leveled at him so much, and they'll talk about other players like Rodri, like number 5, saying, "Oh yeah, but they do it on their own as well." It's like, no, they don't. I mean, Zinchenko's first season at Arsenal, guys, we all remember. Gabby, I'm sure you loved it. Mitch too as well. Zinchenko was all over the place in midfield doing whatever he's want, and the criticism of Declan Rice was that, he needs these players to hold his hand. Odegaard isn't scoring as much or assisting as much because he's dropping deep to hold his hand, kind of thing. It's like, well, if that's the case, does what do you call it? Does Kovacic hold Rodri's hand? Does whoever the fuck plays left back for City, however they feel, Ake or Guardiola or whoever, or even De Bruyne dropping in as well, do they hold Rodri's hand? When they make their box midfield, it's not a one-man job, despite people thinking it is, just because they see a lineup. But my whole thing is that the volume and the quickness of it needs to be upped, kind of thing. But you can't tell me that 5 played on his own, that he didn't, because Zinchenko was there. So by that admission, that means Zinchenko was holding his hand, right? Or are we not? Are we in agreement of that? You see what I'm saying here? So that's why this criticism of Declan Rice, especially this summer, was so stupid, because all these players that he's saying can do that kind of thing, they all had help around them, helping getting the ball forward as well. So I'm not saying that he has to do it on his own, but I'm just saying, while it needs to be up, I don't feel as if it's as big a problem as people want to make out, because it's fucking Declan Rice, man. Like, he played half the season as a 6, half the season as an 8, and he got better numbers than some forwards, guys. Like, he is one of the best players in the world, hands down, midfielder or not. He's just one of the best players, period. So yeah, that's why I leave it with Declan Rice.
Yeah, and honestly, once we integrate Timber and Calafiori in some respects, I feel as if that's going to... Yeah. There's just going to be progressive passing coming from so many options in that back line during our build-up that it's not really even going to fucking matter if Declan Rice improves this progressive passing or not. Like, we're going to be fine as a team. We don't need to prioritize him as a player. We don't have to, make him the central figure in the team to force it. Like, I think we'll be fine one way or the other. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I sort of noticed in this preseason. I don't want to talk too much about it because people didn't watch the games, but just the fluidity of our build-up phase. Like, people dropping in the different formations, some shit looked Deserbian, the build-up is very fluid at this point. I don't think it's going to rely on any one person. but there are going to be periods where we need someone to sort of take the mantle. But we have William Saliba, so it's fine. So I'm not worried about anything. Let's talk a little bit about the enemy, because none of this happens in a vacuum. The reason why we're not two-time defending league champions is because 115 FC still exists, and nothing has happened to them. Something may happen in October, but even after that, there will be appeals and all the rest. So let's just talk about the football. Mitch, how do you feel compared to last year when the season started? How do you feel from a confidence level in Arsenal versus City again? You know, given the changes that have happened on their end, who did they lose this summer?
Alvarez. I think that's it.
That's fine. And they added Sabinho from their feeder team, Girona FC. How do you feel? Do you feel more or less confident going into the season?
You're asking a guy who was very confident at the beginning of last season and is now just like a little hurt. So I think I am less confident, but that is not like it's all comparable to how I felt last season, which was we're going to win the league. And I do still think that we will do it this year. I think this is the year that we do it because I've been saying that 2 years. And it's gotta happen at some point, right? If it doesn't, I'll be fully broken. Yeah, I mean, like, City hasn't gotten significantly better. I'd say that we're 2 points away from them last year. We took it to the last day. And I think that we can do it, but it just depends on like I truly don't know what to make of them. Of like, is something crazy going to happen? Are they going to lose Ederson? Are they going to lose Kevin De Bruyne? Like, those have both been rumors that have popped up this summer. That like I don't know if all of a sudden Saudi Arabia is going to come in hard at the end of the window and try to take one of those players from them. And if something like a huge shakeup happens like that, yeah, I think there's a little bit more of an opening. Looking in the other direction, I have no idea what to make of Liverpool because I have no idea how Slot is going to be as a coach. They haven't signed anyone. I don't see United challenging for a title.
Why are you doing this? I didn't ask you about Liverpool.
You're asking about a title race, and
no, I asked you about Man City.
I'm done talking.
Good. Gabby, Man City, how do you feel? More or less confident?
Our preseason last season was shit, and we went into the season and we were shit. So I didn't like the way that we looked at the beginning of last season. This season, our preseason was pretty good, and I very much like that we look like we know what the fuck we're doing. Like, we have our style of play. Everybody knows how to play their role. I fully expect us to win against Wolves. Do I think that we're going to beat City? I don't think you want me to answer that question. The answer, because my answer would be no. I think that we have, I'm not going to say Liverpool, but if we're talking about just City, our midfield and our backline, I think we have a better backline than City personally, but our midfield is on par with City's personally, I think. But our attack is not. And that's where I think we're gonna, there's too many games last season where we just blanked. Where the opposition just kept us out. We just could not score. And that's a problem. That cannot happen this season. Even if there wasn't a lot of games that we lost last season, but there wasn't a lot of games that City lost last season either. If you can't win, don't lose. You got to score. You have to find a way to score. Somebody has to find a way to score. And I just don't think we have that inevitability that Liverpool and City have. And that's where I think we're going to come up short, which is why we need a forward. But cool. Alas, here we are.
Do you believe in the power of Kyle Walker as much as Mitch and Gabby do?
I'll be honest. He needs to worry about family lawyers and shit. So I don't give a fuck about him.
He's talking about Kyle Walker when we should be talking about the evil of Rodri. But sure.
So
I have not once said Kyle Walker on this podcast.
Well, I heard it.
I'll be honest. City still worry me because not because of their squad, but because of the bastard in charge, basically. He always finds a way to. He always finds solutions, and that's, I think, his superpower. Is he's a solutions man, and he makes shit work. And as much as I don't enjoy City, to be honest, I've watched them probably as much as I watch United, for example, and another team. And one thing I noticed about the evolution of what they're trying to do and what they've been doing, you always see it pretty early, like in a game where he fucked up, basically, and then he refines it. And I think we're pretty much, what's scary is that we're pretty much reverting to the Centurion team in terms of profile, which I don't like. He's playing wingers on their correct side. Like there's no one coming on their strong foot. I think we're going to see Savinho playing on the left quite a lot. We're going to see Doku playing on the right quite a lot as well. I may be wrong. Obviously, he's a weirdo. He's going to change things, but I think his optimal team is going to have his two wingers serving it on a plate to the most deadly striker in the world. I think it's a very basic but very formidable style of playing. You're going to have Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri all looking for those passes into those players, kind of thing, to take on their men and to put it on a sixpence for Erling Haaland to finish. And it's a beautiful football. I love how simple it is when you have the right players to do these kind of things. It's very simple football. Direct wingers, fast wingers into a 6'6" striker who can finish off both feet and is, improving in the air every season. It's not fun. It's not fun to admit, and it's going to win them a lot of points. But I will say there is still hope for not just for Arsenal, but for anybody going up against City, because they are a year older, and while they'll be more experienced and whatever else, I still think their best players is the engine room, and the legs aren't the same. They've all played so much football. So I think if Arsenal are going to sneak it ahead of them, and we're not going to blow them out of the water, let's be clear here, they're not going to let go of that title. If we are going to get in ahead of them by 3 points or whatever, 4 points or whatever kind of thing, it's going to come down to them not having their best midfield available for most of the season. That's just even defenders as well. That's just how I think it is. Attack-wise, City are going to score a fuck ton of goals this season, guys. Let's get used to it, honestly.
It's going to be crazy when they buy fucking Bruno Guimaraes. That's going to be...
Oh, God.
Literally. My God.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long season.
Mitch, now we do the best of the rest. Which ones scare you? Liverpool, Villa, the rest of those bums. Who are you worried about?
In terms of title, Liverpool's squad hasn't changed all that much, and so they still have guys that can power them to wins, which is Salah, Alisson, and so they will still be a good team, but I think it all kind of depends on how good of a manager Slot is. I have no idea what to make of him outside of, he won the title with PSG last year. Good for him. I have no idea what to make of him, of how this team is going to evolve past Klopp. They haven't signed anyone. And so it'll be interesting to see how they do. I still think, just like last season, they're a tier 1B below Arsenal and City being a tier 1A. And then Chelsea has a NFL roster. I have no idea what they are. Manchester United, I think, will be better than last year, but still not challenging for a title. Villa is Villa. I think it's going to be between us and City again. I truly do.
Fair enough. Gabby, any thoughts on Villa? It feels like they've done a bit of evolving. They replaced Douglas Luiz with the guy that, I don't know which ones of you wanted these motherfuckers. Whatchamacallit? Onana? Was it? I'm so glad he didn't come back.
Yeah, it was Coach. It was Coach.
I
did not want Onana.
I'm on the record. I wanted Onana. I like him.
I did not want
Mitch is my boy.
Anyway, I actually talked about this the other day with a friend. I think Villa will come down to earth this season. I don't think they're going to be... I think Ollie Watkins would probably bail them out a lot, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last season. I think that Newcastle will make a comeback this season, which might be a problem because they just no way that they have this many injuries that they had last season this season. Like, we'll see who they sell. Granted, they like may well sell Bruno G to Man City and whatever, and then I might change my mind. But I still think Isak's probably going to bail them out a lot too. I'm more worried about Liverpool. Look kind of really good this preseason and preseason, so whatever. But like, it didn't take that much for them to come back to like being really good. Like, they just had a dip last year, and it's just whatever. But I do not want to fight on two fronts against City and Liverpool, because Liverpool just find a way to get over the line every time and score, and it is infuriating to watch. And we don't have that. But
they're not going to have like the Klopp last season devil magic this year. Like, I'm not worried about that.
Listen, I don't think they're going to have the devil magic, but they just always get over the line it just irritates me. I don't think Chelsea is going to be pretty good. They may get Europe, but I think it'll be like Europa League or something like that. They're just whatever. If they even get there, because they don't even know what their best lineup is. Like, they have so many players, they can just swap and change whatever. There'll be no chemistry. It'll be, what's his name?
Enzo
Maresca. Maresca's first season in the Prem, so we'll see how he,
Yeah,
but I'm more worried about less of the top six and more of the other teams that we can't. There's no way that we can blanket against Fulham. Like, I'm sorry, those are the games you have to beat. Those are the teams you have to beat. I don't want to see like West Ham getting who they got, Somerville, Full Creek, like those players. Like, you guys cannot have that bad game that you had last year and just like look like shit against West Ham. I'm sorry.
I think that, like, obviously we took like 1 point from Fulham last year, which was a very, very bad 2 games. But like, I truly think it's realistic to be like, we cannot lose to a team that's worse than us, because that's most teams, and we will lose games this year. I promise you. Like, we're not doing an Invincibles Part 2. We will lose games this year.
You don't know that. Like,
okay.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky.
I'm going for Chelsea's record. We're 15 or less goals conceded. Okay.
There you go. We got the Italian. We got Rocky in our defense and shit. Tomiyasu's legs will be imported from Japan again soon. But Coach, before we get out of here, let's take it back home. What would your preferred lineup be for this season? I know it's a weird question to ask, because we know our manager is super into flexibility and players being very versatile. And
just saying the weirdo. It's fine.
Even without substitutions. What's that? Nah, man. Honestly, he's not weirder or sicker than any of you guys, to be honest. Like, he actually seems more normal than Mitch. I think Arteta is a more normal human being than you,
paid for pickpockets.
And you know.
Arteta paid to have his subordinates' pockets picked at dinner.
God.
He should be in prison.
It's not like
Something very wrong with him.
What are we talking about here, man? That's not the standard of weird. Is does he fuck couches or not? Arteta does not.
Okay, yeah. So is he JD Vance? And the answer is no.
I didn't say that. The white boy said that. People, not me. Okay. Well, Coach.
Oh my days.
What have you seen as a preferred lineup? Do you think because I kind of feel like what he did against Lyon, despite the fact that we've all in our head sold Zinchenko, I kind of feel like Zinchenko might still be in his best lineup at the moment.
So I'll just reel off names. So I'm gonna go Ramsdale. Tommy, no joke. No joke aside. Obviously it'll be Raya. Right back will be White, Saliba, Gabriel. I genuinely think his preferred left back, all things being equal, will eventually be Jury and Timber. If we're talking preferred lineups, like if he had everyone fit and ready to go, right? I also do think, unfortunately, that I suppose we're probably going to see, until he obviously breaks down and just fucks off, hopefully forever, we're still going to see 5 at the base of our midfield. I'm not against it profile-wise, but I just wouldn't want it to. I just don't want it.
I will say this much about him today. He looked mostly shit throughout preseason, and I was ready to write him off entirely as a player at this level. He looked very good today.
Okay. Well,
I have to admit that. He looked good today.
players like that are always going to be valuable because of what they bring when they play well. It's almost one of those hen's teeth thing where it's just very, very hard to find. People are talking about Zubamendi. Like Zubamendi, I like as a player, but let's be very fucking clear here. It's not that kind of party, So yeah, and then we'll go Rice in the left 8 and Odegaard at the right 8. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I've actually changed my mind.
I don't even think you believe what you're saying.
I've actually changed my mind. I think he wants Rice in the 6. I think
when you said the Timber shit, when you said Timber as the starting left, that's when I knew you had lost your fucking mind.
No,
we both were like, no.
Okay. In his defense, this is the longest podcast of all time. So, like, I want to give him a little bit of...
his stamina isn't where it needs to be. That's cool.
No.
Yeah.
For real, I do think he probably wants Timber in the team as much as he can fit him in.
I think he's going to be on the right, but go on.
I think Timber is just the first guy off the bench for anybody.
Okay.
Timber will play a 9 this season, I swear.
Timber will play goalkeeper, I promise you.
He's that fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I think he's going to go Rice 6 and he's going to go Havertz and Odegaard in front of him purely because he really, really wants that dynamic and that option of being able to just lump it. He wants to be able to lump it so that Jesus can get... Because just remember as well, Gabby Jesus gains advantages all over the pitch. The issue for Arsenal and for Arteta is to find how he can gain those advantages in the box. And the best way to do that is to have somebody that is going to unsettle and drag players away so that someone like Gabby Jesus can cook in those areas. So I think he will go Havertz and Odegaard and Rice. And then the wingers is obviously going to be Saka. And I think he's going to start the season with Trossard. And that's what I probably want for now, but I do want Martinelli back in his first 11 as quick as humanly possible. So yeah, the front field will be Gabby Jesus, Saka, and Trossard. And that gives us a lot of options, like tactically as well. When you look at who's on the pitch, there currently gives us loads. But I do want to see a real 4-4-2 at some point. And I think we've seen it enough experiments in the preseason. Let's give it a go in a Premier League match now, I think. So yeah.
Well said. Gabby has accused coach of losing his mind. I tend to agree in some respects. I think it's going to be, just to push back a little bit on the lineup talk. I think if I can inhabit Mikel's brain for a moment, I think his ideal lineup is Raya. At the moment, it can change as we go through the season. It's Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, Saka, Jesus, Martinelli. I think that's what he really wants. Now, that can change based on fitness, form, all the rest, but I think that is his, we're playing against the aliens. This is our best team. Fuck it, let's go. I think the peak version of all those players, the peak version of Arsenal with this current squad doesn't have 5 in it anymore. And that is very comforting for a lot of reasons, but we don't need to get into that thing.
Correct.
All right, let's move on let's just do some free hits before we get out of here. We've been here for quite a while, but I feel as if we may have skipped a thing or two. Whatever you want to talk about, you have a minute. Mitch, you're up.
I am going to talk about the Arsenal's use of the academy. And it's something that we haven't really seen much the last few years. And I think this is the year where guys start breaking through. I truly have no idea how to gauge like preseasons. Like Isaac Heaven played a lot in preseason. I don't think he's touching the field during the regular season.
But
I think that there is a yeah. Is his name not Isaac?
It's Aiden Heaven. Aiden Heaven. Yeah.
Fuck. Isaac Heaven works better, I think. Well, shows how much I know that player and how much I watched preseason.
Nothing he's ever done, by the way.
Is call him Isaac?
Oh God.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know an Academy kid's name. Fucking sue me. I don't watch Hale End matches. I think Ethan Winieri it will start Premier League games this year, and I'm very, very excited to see that. I think he truly breaks into the team, and it just does not play with the U21s this season. I think that's my like hot take with you, Winieri is like there's a certain point where he just stops playing with the U21s and is just fully a first teamer, which I'm very looking forward to.
Somebody listens to the Arsenal Vision podcast. I like that.
I haven't in a minute. I don't know.
But I do agree with you, Nick. I do feel as if Ethan, I've seen enough. And it may seem
He's ready.
unrealistic. He's ready. Gabby, your minute starts now.
I mean, more than a minute. I'm so sorry to everybody who's listening to this who's an ESR fan, but I'm telling you, I promise you, we won't miss him. I promise you, we won't miss him. We'll miss him in our hearts, but we won't miss him on the pitch. I'm so sorry. I love that boy, and I think Fulham is a good place for him to go, and I think he's going to play well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he stays fit. But if he doesn't, we're going to be looking at him like Tierney. I'm so sorry, but like it's just I have a Tierney kit in my closet right now. I understand. I know. But it just is what it is. We had to let him go. He did not get dropped for Vieira. He had to go to make in my opinion, to make the pathway for Ethan Winieri. That's what I think happened. We needed to make space for somebody, and ESR had to go. It's okay. Now that that's said, we need an attacker.
God, we need to loan her out to a Chelsea pod, man. This woman is out of control. Like, this
Yeah,
is
right.
pure carbon behavior. Like, next you're gonna start calling Mitch a nigga and shit. Like, you know what? You gotta go, Gabby. You gotta go. Coach, your 20 minutes starts now. Talking ass motherfucker. Go.
Honestly,
20 minutes?
Muted.
We need to just back this team. I think we have such a good chance to win the league this year, and I think we will actually win it. That's pretty much the long and the short of it. This Arsenal team, as it stands, I still think it's good enough to win the Premier League. If we add an attacker, I think we do actually win it relatively comfortably. But everything I've said is me talking about us in this current form of the team. This Arsenal team is good enough to win the Premier League, and I think it will. I just think an attacker almost, I wouldn't say makes it more of a sure thing, it just makes it a little less comfortable. But I don't care for comfortable. I don't care about that. I support Arsenal for a reason. I've never been comfortable. You know what I mean? The most comfortable I've ever been lasted 49 games. You see what I'm saying? So I don't care for any of that. You know, I just want to see us win. And I think this Arsenal team is good enough to do it. There is so much there. And I think the key thing here is people talking about we need to score more goals. We're going to score a shit ton of goals this year. I actually do think it's more about us actually not conceding the dumb shit. Because the Villa game, for example, those 2 goals were avoidable. So it's, again, just finding ways to make sure that we're not giving teams anything. And we're really good at it already. So it's a very small marginal game. It's just finding ways to stop giving teams shit, because no one's perfect. Teams will make mistakes. And if we're not giving them shit, I'm not being funny, Saka will find a way, because he's Bukayo, the best player of all time, Saka. So, yeah, that's why I'll leave it.
All right, people. Very well said by everyone. This has been a lot of fun. Remember, we have our fantasy league going, so join us over there. We're going to be talking shit all season. I'm definitely going to win the league, and if I don't, I'm going to rig it. It doesn't fucking matter, so you can quit now. Otherwise, folks, have we forgotten anything?
No.
I don't
I
think
think we talked about every single thing we possibly could have, including the same conversation 3 times.
Oh, the only thing we didn't talk about, which I just is a small thing, we need to get some people out of here. And do something for me. Like, we need to sell.
All right, folks. So from the Chelsea SPS edition.
Crazy.
Yeah, but thanks for sticking with us through the whole pod. We know we usually don't go this long, but it's a season preview, so we figured we could go a little longer. We missed you guys, so we figured you missed us back, so we figured we'd hang out for a little bit. But don't get used to this shit. It's going to be back to an hour next weekend. In any event, we will see you once we've destroyed Wolves. Until then, folks, tell the people peace.
See ya.
Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.